As we begin our time together, we are also beginning a new year. I always think that it's good to keep a sense of humor. Humor is always something that we need, especially in difficult times. So I thought I would take the risk of trying some jokes out on you. These are some bulletin bloopers that I found online. I'll just try a few of them. The low self-esteem support group will meet Thursday at 7 to 8:30 p.m. Please use the back door. This year's stewardship offertory is Jesus Paid It All. At the evening service tonight, the sermon topic will be, What is Hell? Come early and listen to our choir practice. Ladies, don't forget the rummage sale. It is a good chance to get rid of those things not worth keeping around the house. Bring your husbands. An announcement in a church bulletin for a national prayer and fasting conference says this: the cost for attending the fasting and prayer conference includes meals. Just do two more. The peacemaking meeting scheduled for today has been canceled due to a conflict. And last one. The 8th graders will be presenting Shakespeare's Hamlet in the church basement on Friday at 7 p.m. The congregation is invited to attend this tragedy. Those I thought were some good ones. This morning we are beginning the season of Epiphany. An epiphany is a sudden revelation, or insight that profoundly changes one's understanding of oneself or one's worldview. In Greek, epiphany means to reveal or uncover. The season of Epiphany always begins with the story of the wise men or magi following a star to find the child Jesus. These wise men coming from the east are mysterious figures in the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew does not tell us much about them. The wise men are often depicted in Christian art as being kings riding on camels, and there is that classic hymn, We Three Kings. Matthew, though, does not refer to them as being kings. There is no mention of camels. And Matthew does not even mention there were three. We think there were three because they had three gifts. We assume that there were three because of the gifts. The idea of kings and camels comes from our first reading from Isaiah 60. What is interesting about Isaiah 60 is that it mentions the gold and the frankincense, but there is no mention of the myrrh. Many biblical scholars have all kinds of ideas about who they think these wise men might have been. Some believe that they were astrologers. That makes sense since they were following a star in the sky, and astrology was very popular in the East. Some have suggested that they were modern-day scientists. And some have suggested that perhaps they were Zoroastrian priests. However you choose to think about who these wise men were, one thing is very clear to me when I read this story by looking at their actions that they take in this story, is that they do not seem to be very wise. This is the irony of how Matthew portrays these wise men. On every step of the journey, they seem to be completely oblivious to what is actually going on. They have to have an intervening epiphany before they can actually see the whole picture. New Testament scholar Amy Jill Levine compares the wise men to Larry, Moe, and Curly of the Three Stooges in her book, Light of the World. So in this story, the wise men make their first appearance in Jerusalem, announcing that they are looking for a child who's been born King of the Jews because of the star that they observed. Now, what's interesting about this is that the star does not initially lead them to where they need to be, to the right location. It actually leads them to the worst possible location, where they draw the attention of King Herod, who has the official title of being King of the Jews. And he did not want there to be any other king other than himself. Herod the Great was a client king who ruled Judea on behalf of the Roman Empire. He was incredibly paranoid and fearful of losing his power as king. He had members of his own family killed when he suspected them of conspiring to overthrow his rule as king. And during his reign, there were massive building projects that were paid for by the oppressive taxes that he taxed on the Jewish people. The rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem, including the Western Wall, was a part of Herod's major rebuilding program. Herod's family, they were converts to Judaism, and he always tried to appear to be a faithful Jewish person to the Jewish population that he represented. But many observant Jews did not believe that he was a faithful Jew. Herod responds to this news of a new king of the Jews being born by calling together all of his religious experts, the chief priests and scribes, and asks them, where is this supposed to happen at? Where is this new king supposed to be born? They refer to the Hebrew Scriptures, and they tell him in Bethlehem. So then he meets with the wise men and tells them to go to Bethlehem to find the child, so that he too can worship them. Now Herod is, we know, because we know the story, Herod is actually conning the wise men. He has no intention of recognizing any other king other than himself, and his ultimate goal is to destroy this rival king. The star in the story only takes the wise men so far. It's interesting that it's not the star that leads them to Bethlehem. It is the knowledge of the Scriptures which comes from the scribes and the chief priests. That is the ultimate source that gets them going in the right direction to where they need to be, to find the child. The wise men do not understand what Herod's true intentions are. So they head out for Bethlehem. They see the star, and it leads them to the house where Jesus and Mary and Joseph are. They kneel and worship, and they offer their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And then they are warned in a dream not to return to Herod, so they leave for their own country using another road. This is their Epiphany moment. This is the Epiphany moment for the wise men. They discover that they must make a choice between these two rival kings as to who they will follow, and that the child Jesus is the true king of the Jews. So the question that this story presents to us today is, who will we follow in this new year? There are two rival kingdoms, the kingdom of Herod, that is about power and ego, and the kingdom of Jesus, which is about seeing everyone as a child of God, even foreigners like these wise men. Will we follow the kingdom of Jesus or the kingdom of Herod? The wise men discover that Jesus and his kingdom are above all other kings and kingdoms. They discover that there is no one that is king other than Jesus, and that they are to follow him. However, there is a sacrifice to be made for this commitment to God's kingdom. The decisions we make as to which leaders we will follow can have grave consequences for all kinds of people. Whether we like it or not, this year is an election year, and we will once again decide who will lead our country for the next 4 years. We will have to discern who the leader is that best embodies our Christian ideals and values of love of God and neighbor. Deciding who to follow is really important and has consequences. And also, whether we like it or not, we are a lot like the wise men many times. We are completely oblivious to the whole picture, and we need epiphanies to get us going in the right direction. As we move into the new year, I pray that God will give us the epiphanies that we need so that we can faithfully follow Jesus. I look forward to being your pastor and sharing this journey with you, where we will have many epiphanies together as a community. Amen.